the problem Duncan.
And you get up and you landed a right hand.
Yeah, I threw a 1-2 and it slipped past one of his right hands and knocked him flat out, sent him into Star Trek. So I walked up and went over to Dana and I was just like, give me my contract, and he's like, you got it. I'm ruthless, I have no feelings in those moments, I'm just like kill. So that's kind of my mentality.
I know you said you lost that first fight. How did you lose?
He knocked me out. I didn't think anybody could knock me out. I've never been knocked out in my life. Unfortunately, our sport is super cruel, so you're either getting beat or you're winning. It's a 50-50, So went to my bed, woke up in the morning, I was on weight. I was lying in my bed with a coffee and I was waiting for my mate Kevin to come pick me up, and then my gran came in the door, was a bit sheepish and was like, Chris, your mum's been killed. And I was like, what? And I'd spoke to my grandparents at the dinner table and they were like, what are you going to do now? It's never going to bring her back, and the way you are and the mindset that you have, you may as well go ahead with it.
UFC star Chris Duncan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, thanks for having me, man.
It's an honour to have you on, mate. It's been a while, we were talking, and then you get the call.
Yep, I had to go and kill someone
to get into the UFC. I think that made you 3-1 in that.
That's right, so 3-1, had my last fight in Paris. It's quite good to fight in Paris because it brought the flight a little bit closer to home, because sometimes after the fight, you're a bit banged up and you want to get home nice and quick. So it was good to be in Europe for a change. Usually I'm in Mexico City or somewhere mad.
Because you usually fly. I know you go to America as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I go to American Top Team for every camp that I do. Best gym in the world. I cannot compare any other gym to that. Training with guys like Dustin, Masvidal, Grant Dawson, Thiago Moses, all these guys. Top 10 guys. So the proof is in the pudding. All these guys are through there and making millions of bucks, and I'm just working my way up that ladder.
I seen the photos of you with like Dustin Poirier,
yep,
and stuff like that, and that must have been brilliant training with the guys. I
was a bit starstruck when I first met the guys and that, and then you realise that these guys are just normal humans, and you're chilling out with them in the sauna, and you just normal guys. You see them on the telly, and then you meet them in person, and they just become your pals and that. So it's a good gym. They all look after you over there.
What was Masvidal like?
Mad. He's mad. Mad as a hatter. So, but really good training partner for me. Really helped me out. One person who I would maybe not think they would show me anything, but I remember when I first sparred with him, I think he was in preparation for Gilbert Burns. I was giving him some sparring, and I'm safe. I'm always safe when I spar. And he's like, right, come over here, we'll go over this. And I was very fortunate to be able to allow him to pass the knowledge on to me, and I still use some of the techniques that I've been shown to this day. So I'm very fortunate and very lucky to be able to be on the mat with these guys.
Brilliant, Chris. So it's got to be fascinating to go through this story with you, right? I'll just take you back to the start of your story, your early memories, first chapter.
Yep. So when I was younger, obviously, everybody knows who's listened to a podcast from me before. I was a shepherd before I was anything to do with fighting. So I was up the hills with my dogs and bringing in sheep and cattle and doing all that sort of shit. And dipped in and out of MMA. Not MMA, kickboxing now and again, and then slowly moved into MMA, and I think I was there for a week and a half doing MMA, and I had this late notice call up to take a fight on April 19th, I think it was, and I was like, yeah, sure. I had a McDonald's in my hand and everything, and I was like, yeah, sure, no bother, what weight is it? And then they were like 77 kilos. I was like, I'll take it. So I left the burger, put it in the bin. Went home, did my training for that week, and then I think it was maybe 4 or 5 days and I had left to cut the weight. Managed to make the weight no problem. Was in the sauna the night before, went to my bed, woke up in the morning, I was on weight, and I was lying in my bed with a coffee, and I was waiting for my mate Kevin to come pick me up, and then my gran came in the door, was a bit sheepish and was like, Chris, your mum's been killed. And I was like, what? It was like as kind of brash as that. Like, I didn't really have any time to comprehend it. And I still went through with the fight. I still, to this day, think it was the best decision I ever made, because look at where I am now. I went through it all, and it gave me this kind of, I buried my head in the sand a wee bit when it came to it, because I just didn't want to think about it. And I think taking the fight made me kind of not think about it. So that's kind of the epiphany I had, you know. And from that moment, I decided that, right, I'm not going back to farming. It's a dead-end job. Well, it's not a dead-end job, but you get what I mean. I felt like it may be a dead-end job, like out in the piss and rain. And I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to go and do something that I really enjoy, and that is training, going to the gym. And out of that unfolded this character I have in MMA, and this kind of persona that I carry, and it fits in really well with me. And I feel it's very, very natural for me to be that person. Hard worker, train like a crazy dog, and just, it's all unfolded from there.
Must have been some emotions you're going through at that time. You're saying you just heard your mum's been killed.
Yeah.
And then you need to go out and fight that day or the next day.
Yeah. I think
a lot of people saying to you, we need to cancel. Or
yeah, a lot of people, and even myself, thought, you know, maybe you should cancel. And I'd spoke to my grandparents at the dinner table, and they were like, what are you going to do now? It's never going to bring her back. And the way you are and the mindset that you have, you may as well go ahead with it. And then from that moment, you know, like I was like, right, okay. And I just always used the analogy, bury my head in the sand, because you know yourself, like imagine like you were in isolation, you had no phone and nothing to do, your mind's racing. So I put myself into MMA and everything I could ever put into it to get myself so focused and fixated on that I couldn't bring up the thoughts. But that day, obviously there was slight emotion, but it was the weeks at the other end that I had to deal with, and that was going to training and just trying to forget about it, which is probably a wee bit selfish, but it's worked out in the end. And you know, that's where we are today, you know.
Wait, age you at that point?
I was 21, so I was big enough and old enough to realise, like, fuck, you know, like, can't believe that, you know. It was a bit of a mad experience. Feels almost like surreal at the moment, even thinking about it, because I can put myself right back in that position. I can remember everything that happened, which is probably the traumatic part of the story, eh? Like, it's a bit... Oof.
Well, they say that like these traumatic events, it shakes you out of your subconscious into your conscious mind, and you remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
That exact moment, like your gran coming in the door.
Yeah. Well, I remember that full day, because I tried to live it as simple as possible, because I remember that day when I was fighting, there was actually a sevens rugby tournament on, and I went down and, like, I never said to anybody that my mum had been killed, and I just kind of went on with my day. Like, nobody knew, and I just didn't tell anybody, and didn't tell anybody I was fighting with, and like everybody thought it was just normal. So I just hashed on with it, which I don't know if it was maybe. I definitely think it was the right thing for me to do, but a lot of people, I'm never one for like posting shit on Facebook and being like, miss you, mum, that's been 7 years. You know?
Photos of the grave and stuff like that.
Aye, like that's...
A lot of people deal with it differently, don't they?
Of course, aye, and that's just not me, mate. So, like, I just don't want to talk about it, eh? Just, like, it's taken me a long time to be able to even talk about it on a podcast, or even talk about it. You know, there was a lot of built-up energy, and a lot of people ask about it for me now, because I've obviously dedicated my fight start after crying my eyes out on live TV, so it is what it is.
But, again, it's inspiring so many people, because you think of the amount of trauma so many people go through, and then they go back the way. They go into the darkness and they suffer through addiction and all these things to block out the pain. You used another way. Do you know what I mean? Inspiring so many. So good on you for that.
Well,
mate.
That's why I have the tattoo across my chest. It says "beautiful addiction," because it is addiction. That's what I've addicted myself to, because I feel like I've got a very addictive personality, just like my mum and my dad. You know, they're both addicted to alcohol and drugs and you name it, and that's what I've channeled myself into. I could definitely be an alky, and I could definitely be a drug user. I know it for sure. I just need something, eh? And now I was always worried about if I never was able to fill the void with MMA, but now I have a family to fill that void, so that's absolutely fine. So that's why I got the tattoo on my chest of Beautiful Addiction, because it's something beautiful that's came of that addictive personality that I've probably got off of my mum.
It's amazing, mate, because I can relate to that in ways. I'm also an addict.
Yeah.
I had loads of bad addictions when I was younger, but I'm away from that now, so addicted to the better things in life.
Yeah.
The natural highs.
Yeah, for sure. I just said, you said that it inspires some people, and that literally like 5 days ago, I met this wee boy. He came into the gym and I could see him looking over at me, and I was doing a PT, and I could tell he recognised me. So I'd seen Vinny, and Vinny came over to me and he goes to me, he's like, this guy knows you, Chris. And he's like, he's like UFC guy. And I was like, come on, we'll get a picture. And I was kidding on to choke him and that. And the wee guy didn't really know me. Like, he knew I was a fighter and that. And he's went home and Googled my name, and he's seen obviously the viral thing of me greeting in the ring, in the cage, sorry, and caught saying that I dedicate all my fights to my mum. Turns out his mum had died of cancer just recently, so it's inspired him to go to the gym. So that's something that I've always held quite close to my heart. Is I remember I seen Tyson Fury, I've talked about this hundreds of times. They had this wee guy in the gym with not the gym, in the ring, holding his belts, with disability, and they could just tell that wee boy was loving the moment. I think giving back to people like that just really fills me with like good vibes, if that makes sense. Like, if anybody wants an autograph or a picture or wants to meet me, I'll always give them the time. A guy came to the gym not long ago and got a picture painted of me from Geo Art, and he came to the gym and I signed it for him. Like, that fills me with happiness, eh? Like, why that guy wants to meet me, I don't know, but it definitely makes me feel great about myself, you know what I mean, and giving back.
Well, good on you, mate, and you do come with good vibes. I was a wee bit starstruck when you came in. I had to try and stop myself, you know what I mean? Get a photo.
We'll get one after, eh?
Aye, good stuff, mate. But moving on from there, right, where did your MMA career go after that then? The first fight, knuckle down training?
Yeah, like I said, I really focused myself on MMA. I really pushed myself into MMA. I wasn't as active as I should have been, but the training side of it, I was so involved. Like, to this day, like, I do not think about anything else. The moment I wake up to the moment I go to my bed at night is MMA. And that's what I've done. And I've trained, and the way I put myself through my vigorous training and the way I had my mindset for training, it's kind of moulded me into this fighter that was like non-stop pressure, violence, knockouts. Before I was in the UFC, I had 100% finishing rate, and like, I was knocking people out left, right and centre, and I used to make good coin out of that as well, because the promoters want you on the show. And they used to say, we'll give you a £10 ticket deal. And I used to sell 150 tickets to an event. So I'm like 21 years old, got a full-time job, but then I'm getting 150 sheets. Like, no bother, eh? It was good. So I made a lot of money through selling tickets, and a lot of my friends to this day follow me all over the world to watch me fight. So that's how I kind of pride myself, and that's how I got to the UFC, because the UFC want exciting fights. And that's how, like, some of the most skilled fighters don't pretend to get to the UFC because they're not that exciting. So like, I pride myself on being that fighter who puts it all on the line. And I had 2 decisions in the UFC before my last finish, and I'm just trying to figure myself out. It's a different game when you get to the UFC.
It's a different level.
Hugely, mate.
You see fighters there that are undefeated.
They're the same guy as me. They're the same berserker that's in there. They're the same mentality. Like, I literally don't plan anything after my fight. Like, Saturday is only Saturday. Anything after that is not planned, because I'm literally, like, people say it off the cuff, but I literally go in there, kill or be killed. Like, I'm not planning. I intend to be absolutely broken. So that is what it is, you know. So that's the kind of mentality that I need to have going through this, eh?
And that's what people love to watch.
Exactly.
It's like Michael Chandler, for example. You know what I mean? He's 2-4, I think. He's got 4 losses in the UFC.
Yep.
But yeah, he still keeps getting the fights because he's an exciting fighter.
He's mad as a brush, isn't he?
You know, but he might not have the best fight IQ, but as you
No,
said,
no.
sometimes it's what the crowd want.
He's getting paid anyway.
That's it. Maybe win his next fight, but
Aye.
I know you used the law of attraction
Yep.
to get yourself into that killer mentality, getting up the ranks.
Yep.
Who was it you followed with that? Because what inspired me was when I started watching the UFC, it was like Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
When his rise, the energy that he had,
Yep.
and for him to do that and use the law of attraction and speak things into existence, that was powerful.
Well, there was a couple of people that had mentioned it to me, and then I obviously heard that Conor McGregor had listened to it as well, but I was already doing that sort of stuff, you know. I was always weird. I was like, see, for instance, an analogy that obviously The Secret uses is like, if you want a car parking space, think about that space. And I would always do that, and it would always happen. And, you know, you're pushing all that energy towards something that you want. It's like, if you want something that bad and you think about it that much, you will get it, and that's what, obviously, like, I do affirmations, I visualise all the time. Like, it's weird, like, I'll probably go through my day in my head about 1,000 times, you know, what I want to do. And I think that's a very, like, pushed aside thing for everybody else. Like, they don't visualise, and like, your brain is such a complex and crazy thing that it can almost scare you. Like, going into the cage and that, like, I'm doing like walkthroughs in my head, and I don't know if you've seen my Instagram, like, I posted a video of walking out to the cage before I actually got the fight. Like, I just feel like you need to do these sort of things. You need to do a quick run through to kind of calm your nerves, you know.
I know you went pro 2019, is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
What was your first promotion? Where were you fighting? Was it Bellator? Was it somewhere before that?
I think my first pro fight, where was it? My first pro fight was on a show called Unity, and that was in Darlington.
Right.
And that was a good show because it was just down in Newcastle. So I had like 60 folk come down and watch me. Absolutely battered this Italian kid. He shouldn't have been in there with me, like, poor guy. Like, he actually couldn't get his flight home because he was like all smashed up, so he couldn't fly. He's broken orbital bones, and he just wasn't like, obviously it was his debut as well, but I was pretty well versed in that sense, and like, people didn't really realise that until, you know, I started coming up through the rankings, and everybody recognised me from then on. So that was a pretty scary.
Was that a first round KO? Or?
Second. I'd absolutely tooled him for a whole round. Went out to the second. I think I dropped him with a knee, and then he fell down, and I was on top of him, and I went to like pass his guard, but I held onto his head, like, so he couldn't like wrestle back up, and he tapped. So he was like,
I was finished.
He was like out. He's like, I'm done. So he just tapped. And I had to carry him down the stairs and all that after the fight. So I've got a picture on my phone of me carrying him down the stairs. But aye, poor guy.
It's mad because obviously adrenaline's pumping. As you said, it's kill or be killed.
Aye.
And you're hurting these people.
Yeah,
you know, and you're not thinking about that. You're just thinking about victory.
Yeah. Well, mate, I don't know if it's just the kind of mentality of a fighter and stuff like that, or the kind of upbringing that I've had. Like, I've got no emotion when it comes to like that sort of thing. Like, see kids and women and stuff like that. But see if some guy's in front of me and he's wanting to fight, I feel like I could kill somebody. Like, I genuinely feel that I've got that deep inside me, and I don't think it would affect me in any way, shape or form, you know. It would need to be an act, like I would need to be fighting him, It wouldn't be like I'm just going to go out and kill somebody. You know, I don't think that would bother me either, but there's plenty of guys out there that deserve to be killed, but I just feel that I've got that in me. It's born and bred into my soul. Like, it's something primal, you know.
When did you move into Bellator then? How long did that take you?
I think I was 4-0, and I went in and I fought this up and coming prospect called Sam Slater. And I took the fight last minute, so everybody thought I was going in there to get canned and done in.
What was your MMA record at this point? Your first fight in Bellator? What were you?
4-0.
You were 4-0?
Yeah, 4-0. Right. So I went in there, and I remember there was a big thread on Twitter. It was like, Sam Slater, SBG's next big thing, so it's Conor McGregor's gym.
That's right, aye.
And it's like 1 minute 59 later, it said Sam Slater TKO'd by Chris Duncan. So like, I wasn't fucking about with that either. And you know, I quite like that feeling of being the underdog, going into something, and I like people telling me that I can't do something. You know, I hear everybody saying that, but it's quite a good feeling, eh?
Because you're challenging yourself as well, aren't you? I know we want to prove other people wrong and prove yourself right, but it's really you versus you, isn't it, in there?
Yeah,
that's
definitely. When it's scary to jump, and that's what I've always done it. I've always done it.
It's putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, isn't it?
Yep, definitely. I do it every day. I do it every day.
And I know that works for me. Obviously, it's a different type of thing. I told you before, I struggled with addiction, mental health, all of these things. I never turned to being a gangster or a criminal or these other nutters that come in here.
Aye.
But I turned to like self-destruction.
Aye.
But no, it's like things, maybe even just going to the gym, getting a healthy diet, getting in, doing the cold water therapy.
Yeah.
These things, they work for me.
Definitely.
But so you are, that was you 5-0.
5-0 after I burst him, aye.
And then you're in the Bellator then. So
Yeah.
I think you had 3-0 all in there. In Bellator. But that took you up.
That's
Try
right.
to keep up here, Chris, but that took you up to like 7-0 or something like that.
Yeah.
What was your other 2 fights like in Bellator?
Oh, an absolute manhandled them both. I knocked out a guy called Mateusz Piszkors. I think he was Polish. Battered him for 2 rounds and I TKO'd him at the end of the second. And then I had another guy, Imac Furtado. He was from Spain, I think. But I burst him as well. I was on a roll at this point, eh? Nothing could stop me. I actually felt indestructible. And that took me up to 7-0. And then went to the Contender Series where I got my first shot at obviously trying to get into the UFC. And then I kind of lost that, so I didn't get that shot, but we got there eventually.
Was that during COVID or round about there? It kind of maybe took the wins out of your sail a wee bit.
It did, because when I fought for Bellator, it was a decent pay. It was good enough for me at the time. No kids and that. Didn't have any money going out, so it was a really good thing for me to stop working. And then COVID hit, and I had to go back to work. So I've went back to work bloody 3 times since I've been a fighter. So I'm slowly but surely getting there to be a full-time athlete. But yeah, I went in COVID, and then Bellator said, we can sign you again, we want to keep you, and they offered me a big amount of cash, but they said we don't know when we can get you a fight, and that was no use to me. It's like, so if I signed that dotted line, I would never have been able to fight for a year and a half. But I got out my contract, and then I got a shot in the Contender Series for the UFC.
How did that come about? Did you get a call?
Well, yeah, I got a new manager, and he got that call for me.
So onto Dana White's Contender Series, that must have been some buzz, because it's all building up to that, isn't it? Everybody wants on the UFC. That's right. The main attraction.
So when I went to the Contender Series, I had a bit of a fuck up as well. So in COVID, you know, everything was crazy. You know, like there was nobody in the airports, so there was a lot of outside. What's the word I'm looking for? There was a lot of outside things that were not helping me, like COVID. You needed passes, you needed ESTA visas, you needed all this stuff to try and get into the US. COVID test, JAGs. I ended up getting my COVID JAGs because I wanted to be in the UFC that bad. Like, I was really against it, but if one door shut, another one opened, I was having to get in there, eh? So when I went to the Contender Series the first time, my opponent pulled out on fight day, so I was like, fuck, what do I do now? And then Dana White had said, I went to the event and watched the show that I was meant to be on, and I seen him going for a toilet break, so I ran over to him and got his attention. He listened to me, and then he said, we're going to try and get you a fight for Friday, so stay ready. So I said, right, no problem. Turns out they couldn't get me a fight because the commissioner wouldn't allow it, because the guy that were trying to get me to fight with had too many fights. So it needs to be, the commission are mad. They're kind of this governing body that decide whether it's safe or not. Couldn't do it. So then I'd cut weight again. So that was 2 times. And then my manager said to me, he's like, right, mate, you're going to go home now. You're never going to get a fight. We'll get you back on the show at some point. So as you do, I went away out, In-N-Out burger. I was eating sweeties and crisps. I was fucking scranning. I was like, waiting for a phone call from my manager in the morning. And I went over to this wee cafe across the road, Duncan Donuts. And I was like, I'm going to get the works. I'm scoffing my face. Ring, my manager phones me. I pick up the phone. Hi mate, I've got good news and I got bad news. My fucking heart just sunk, because I'd been scranning. So he said, I've got a fight for you in, I think it was maybe 10 days or 12 days time. He said, we take it. And I had just a newborn baby at this point, so I had to phone my missus. So instead of me being away for a week to go to this Contender Series, I was nearly away for a full month in America by myself in COVID, isolated, couldn't leave the hotel. So I took that fight, cut all that weight, wasn't my best, and I lost. But from that, I realised that I'm a tough bastard. I can do pretty much anything. Like, mate, I literally ate salmon and asparagus for 3 weeks straight. It was just fucking terrible. Obviously, I had a couple In-N-Out burgers between there and then, but that was a tough gig. Like, really
it
hard.
just shows you how resilient people can be when they want to reach their goals and their dreams and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like,
I don't know if you know about cutting weight for fights. You need to go in the sauna or the bath, and
I've seen them wearing the stuff in the sauna. And
yeah, so I did that, and then I ended up after the fight coming home on the plane, and I ended up with kidney stones from it. So it's like it was pretty harsh on my body. There was a picture I put up online as well that you can see the shape of my face and how drained I looked and how white I looked, and it was just something I needed to do to. I don't know, like I keep saying it, like out of something bad comes something good. There's always that positive and negative to something, and I got my shot again.
I know you said you lost that first fight. How did you lose?
He knocked me out. So he was I think he had 100 kickboxing fights, so he was a really good opponent for me. And everybody was saying like just grapple and beat him, and I was like nah. So I fucking went out there on my fucking shield. But I should have listened to everybody. I probably would have got my contract. But I'm my own kryptonite sometimes. I'm too hard, too tough, and I'm slowly learning as the years go on.
But that would have taught you a lot as well.
100%,
that had to happen that way. Do you know what I mean? So you learn for that. And obviously you're getting in there thinking, right, I'm 7-0, I can knock this guy out because it's your mind.
I didn't think anybody could knock me out. I'd never been knocked out in my life. And then obviously that and the weight cuts, they all play a factor, So
so how did you manage to get another call back to the Contender Series?
So obviously Dana White and Sean Shelby had known that I'd done all this to get my shot. So they came through the back after I lost and put on a really good performance. I didn't just go in there and get knocked out. That wasn't how the fight went. But I went and put on a really good performance for 2 rounds and got caught. And they came through the back and like, mate, that was a fucking amazing fight. We want guys like you on the show. We know what you've done. Go home, rest up, get another fight, and we'll have you back on. And true to their word, so I went home, got a fight, fractured a guy's skull with a heat kick, and then came back.
That must have been a good feeling as well, but knowing that you're getting called back.
Of course. I'm always putting 100% effort into everything, so I knew I was going to get my shot. I wrote on my phone affirmation saying I will be in the UFC. It's not a matter of how, it's when. And I will, and I knew it. I just knew from then that I would get in, and it just takes time.
That's what's so admirable about it. It's that mindset. You
know
it's going to happen. You speak it into existence. But you were saying there about the head kick. The one I watched, I'm sure that's what won you your full contract. It was you get knocked down.
Yeah. That was in the Contender Series against Charlie Campbell. Yeah,
Charlie Campbell. That was it. And you get up. And you landed a right hand.
Yeah. I threw a 1-2 and it slipped past one of his right hands and knocked him flat out. Sent him into Star Trek.
Use a bit of grounding pound even though he was already out. I think it's the adrenaline keeps you going.
Aye, mate. I just said to you there. I just to tell you there before, mate. I was like, I'm ruthless. I have no feelings in those moments. I'm just like kill. So that's kind of my mentality.
Because see, back when that happened, that fight, it was one of my friends, because I'd just started getting really into the UFC. That's what, just watching it and watching their mindsets was helping me in recovery. And it was one of my friends saying to me, you heard of this guy, Chris the Problem? And I'm saying, no, I've never heard of him. Oh, he's Scottish. And I was like, and then when I seen that, I was fucking glued to it. I'm saying, no way. Because I mind Dana White, you see his reaction as well.
He jumps off his seat.
He's like, fucking hell, you know?
Yeah.
And that must have felt really good.
Mate, I couldn't wait for it to be done. Once it was done, and everybody was like, because after I knocked him out, I got up and walked away. And everybody's like, why weren't you celebrating and blah blah blah, and I was like, I didn't celebrate because I didn't think it, like I didn't win through like thinking it was a gamble. I knew I was gonna win. I was like if you're jumping up and down and celebrating, you're like, yes, I've won the lottery. Like I knew I was gonna win, so I just
it was
got up
expected.
and so I walked up and went over to Dana, and I was just like, give me my contract, and he's like, you got it, and I was like, went through the back, but mate, I hurt my back in that fight. Fuck knows how. And I was walking about like a cripple, and I had to go back 10 hours on the flight back home for Vegas.
No, but it was like a pure war.
I know.
It was like a street brawl.
I know.
When I watched that, I thought, fucking hell. Because usually you see they don't want to be open. These fighters, like, they don't want to get fucking knocked out right away. But it was just a pure brawl. And I thought, this is amazing to watch. And that's obviously how you're getting your fights. But see your first fight then in the UFC, I know it was Contender Series and stuff. Was it the London fight?
Yeah, against Omar Morales.
Because there was a lot of guys I know were from kind of like Glasgow, Cumbernauld area. They were going down to London to watch you, and we're all talking about it again.
Yep.
And you got a win there. First decision win?
Yeah, it was my first decision win in like God knows how many years. So niggling injuries, I snapped my MTFL, my ankle, did a lot of stuff in that camp, but mainly it was my mindset going into that fight. I just didn't feel great. I couldn't even put a finger on it. I just didn't feel great. Nothing was clicking right, but still going through with it. I knew I could beat the guy, but it just wasn't my game, and I just had to wrestle because I wasn't able on my feet. So I just had to do what I had to do to get the win, and the cash was in the bank after it, so it wasn't.
See, that was the thing when I watched it. I thought, this doesn't look like the Chris I know. I don't understand. You know yourself, you would have liked to have knocked him out, but you need to use your fight IQ then.
Of course. So I had obviously some injuries that I was dealing with, so I had to slow the fight down. And I knew he was not that great at grappling anyway, so that was the easiest route to victory, whether it be a finish or not. So we got it done and went on to my second fight in the UFC and had an absolute stormer. I ended up breaking the guy's arm with a body kick. So then I battered him for 3 rounds. So that was me starting to pick myself up and feel better from there.
What was the time between the two fights, the second fight?
It's quite quick. I think it was like 4 months or something, so it was quite quick.
Where was that based, that one?
There were 2 of them were in London.
Right.
Which was great. So it was
You're flying at that. You're flying at that point.
Yep.
Who was the main card in that one? Do you remember?
The second one?
I'm sure Usman was one of them.
Edwards and Usman, yep.
And that was the one Edwards knocked him out? Is that right?
I think so.
With a head kick?
I think so, yeah.
That's right. Aye, that was your first fight, sorry. In London, was it? No? I might be wrong. No matter.
There's that many.
I know, it's like...
It's silly as well. It's like I'm so focused on myself. Everybody's like, oh, look who's on the card with you. I'm like, I don't give a fuck who's on the card. I'm just about to go and I'm going to go and fight someday. Because everybody's like, I can't believe you're... Like, my last fight there in Paris, I can't believe you're the first fight on the card. That's shocking. It's like, I don't care. I'll batter him, get home and get a pizza nice and early. I was in Five Guys by 7 o'clock, chilling.
There you go. Because I actually went to watch that and I'd missed it.
Did you?
Because when I'd managed to get back and get the TV on, because of the time difference and stuff, I'd get mixed up, but it was in France. Because I thought it was America, so then I fucked it. But it came up, you'd won.
Yeah.
And then I sent you a wee message in that.
Did you?
I said, I know you had loads of messages, obviously. No, you replied to me.
Did I? Oh, brilliant.
You replied, mate. But that was amazing.
How
was that a decision win as well?
In Paris? No, guillotine. Remember when I guillotined them? 50k I got for that one, remember?
Oh no, the last fight. That was your last fight?
Yeah.
Aye, so that was the one we were talking about earlier on.
Aye.
When he was out.
Yeah,
the ref. So talk us through that then.
Well, throughout my last couple training camps, I've been working on certain possessions, and in that fight, I just knew that was something that was going to happen through submission. So we'd worked on that extensively, and we knew that his attributes were speed, athleticism, and being able to push the pace. So we kind of capitalised on the grappling exchanges, and then obviously I came away with that guillotine win. It was a bit crazy, obviously. I don't know if you've seen it, but you did see it. But obviously the guy went completely out, like he was choked unconscious because the referee didn't see him tap, and he just didn't tap. So when I locked up the guillotine, I was like, in my head, I was like, I've got you, you cunt. And I've got him sitting, and then I've pulled close guard. So that's kind of like the last resort. Like, you pull him in because you know you've got it. And he wasn't tapping. And I could feel my arms getting gassed and gassed and gassed. And I was like, maybe I've not got this. And I was like, I'm going to need to let go. So I let go. And then he was just lying on my chest. And I was like, oh no. So I punched him twice for him to get back up. And I was like, he's out. And then the ref's like, keep fighting. And I was like, he's out.
I seen that bit.
Aye.
Because I'm saying he's not moving.
Aye.
And that can be scary as well, because you know yourself, there's people that have died in the octagon.
Yeah, nobody's died in the UFC. Nobody's died in the octagon in the UFC. Only boxers. There has been some promotions outside the UFC who have died, but not in the UFC. The UFC take great care of you. After every fight, they take you out the back. They give you medical care. If you have any injuries that you're worried about, they pay for it. They send you to the hospital. After my loss in the Contender Series, I was knocked out. They sent me to the hospital, full MRI. They didn't need to do all that sort of stuff, and it was like a 22 grand bill they got. Seen it came through my post, and then they'd already cleared it by the time it was done. So they look after you, and I'm very fortunate to be a part of that company because of that. And it's the dream to be in that company, eh?
And you've done so well already. So you're back to the grind now, training.
That's it.
Again, waiting on the call, maybe early next year, you thinking when you...
I think they'll probably ask me to come in March. I think they'll ask me to do that. March 22nd, I think it is.
Is there any possible opponents that you're...
Nah, it doesn't work like that in the UFC. They just tell you, there's your fight, and you say, how high do I jump? And then you just do it, eh? So, no choice. It's not like boxing. You don't get fed these guys that are rubbish. They're all killers in there, eh? So,
you feel comfortable at 155?
It takes a long time to get there, like, I'm a big boy. So, that's a suffering I put myself through the 12 to 8 weeks before my training camps, just to get myself down, because I walk around about 85 kilos. So I'm a big boy, like.
I've never understood the weight cuts. Like, why did he make people cut weight and it's so harsh before a fight?
They don't make anybody do it. It's the people that do it. So it's human nature for people to try and get the upper hand and the advantage. So being bigger can have its pros and cons. Being bigger means you're on them, heavier, means you're a bigger person, means you're more powerful. So these things are advantages. Also, they can be disadvantages if they're done wrong, but I do everything right, so I make sure I've got the advantage.
And then you said there, I know you won the bonus in your last fight.
Yep.
Was that fight of the night or knockout, or no?
Yeah,
it was a submission win, but
I think they called it fight of the night or performance of the night.
Performance of the night.
So
that must have been great to take that back.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I was in the kebab shop when I got the notice of that.
Fuck's sake, man! Keeping your diet right in there.
No, right after the fight, I'm eating anything I possibly can.
You get most fighters like that. You see Paddy Pimblett. He takes it a bit far, right enough.
He does. He does weeks and weeks and weeks of it. I just do a couple of days and try and get myself back on, because I know the effort it takes to get back to 70 kilos. So,
See, what about the family then? Like the missus and stuff like that must be hard, obviously. What's her emotions when you're getting into the octagon? Does she watch your fights?
She does sometimes, The last time she didn't watch it because it was on so early, like yourself. So she was a bit like harassed with the kids and ended up not watching it. And I phoned her and said, I won. She's like, how did you win?
Has he even been yet?
Exactly. So it was quite good in that sense. But I've got a very supportive family. Obviously, me and my fiance, we bicker and we have our ups and downs just like any other relationship. But we know we love each other, and she's super supportive, and that's why I've obviously asked her to marry me. So that's why I actually asked her to marry me after my first Contender Series fight, because I always remember I was standing next to the sink doing the dishes, the one and only time I've done the dishes. But she said to me, when's this going to pay off for you? You're always out the house. And that was more financially, and she was more looking out for me. But I kind of was a bit annoyed at the fact that she didn't think that this was going to pay off. But she always stuck by me. So that's why after my fight, I spunked all the money that I won from the Contender Series into her ring, just to show that as much as I'm committed to MMA, I'm committed to her. So now I need to do the wedding.
You need to get another win bonus.
I know, exactly, aye. She wants a kitchen first, so we're getting that done now.
But it must be amazing because you've obviously got that in your mind, right? Before you even get to Bellator or any of these things,
Yeah.
you know that you're going to get to the UFC.
Yeah,
You know you're going to be winning these fights against some of the best in the world.
Yeah.
But nobody else believes it, really.
Another thing as well, just thinking about there, like, you know, we talked about the secret and the affirmations and thinking about this sort of thing. Every fight before that, before I won the bonus, I'd write a check into my bag and said, like, I will win 50k, or I'll write 50k and I'll write Dana White's name at the bottom of it, you know, just the kind of cheesy things. And then that fight there, I wasn't even bothered about it. I was just going in there to win, and I never, like, it was weird, you know, like, because I'm always so positive and I always think positive, but then that time I was just a bit like, just ready to fight this guy. And it just happened, so.
It's like you've seen it happen.
I read that many checks before. I just said, I better give him one.
That premonition, innit? But I better go and get this win and get back home.
Aye. So
no, it's amazing, mate. So how often do you train?
Twice a day, every day, for 6 days of the week. I've been doing once a day for the last kind of 2 weeks, just because dealing with some injuries, doing some housework. I'm telling you about before we came in here, I'm away to do some plastering tonight. So there needs to be a bit of balance, and then we're going to be getting a kitchen soon. So, but twice a day, 6 days a week, 365 days of the year.
It's madness, mate, just sitting with you, because I'm a wee bit starstruck. I love the UFC, but it's inspirational, the work that you do, mate, and it's amazing that you've turned it into a beautiful career.
Aye.
And I think there's great things. Obviously, you see yourself as a champion one day, I know.
Yep.
What age are you now, Chris?
31.
Plenty of time then.
Of course, there's always plenty of time.
So what's the target? Get into the rankings and then get that belt?
So I always say this as well, you know, like, you know, say be a champion and stuff like that. I feel that that's super far away from me at the moment. I've always been very reserved when it comes to setting goals. So I always set short-term or medium-term goals. I never, obviously, being a world champion would be every fighter's dream. So when I used to blow out candles and throw a penny down the wishing well or see a shooting star, I would always wish to be in the UFC. So now I've accomplished that. So now I'm looking to, like, think of a new wish. So my new wish now would be to get to the top 10. So now, and before that, like, there was always that doubt. There's always doubt that creeps into your mind. Well, maybe I wouldn't get to the UFC. But I always knew, and I always wrote at my phone, and I always stayed positive. So just because I don't see myself as a champion right now does not mean I won't be the champion one day. So the same sort of goal was getting to the UFC. There was always doubt, but now I'm in. So why can't I be champion one day? Why can't I get to the top 10? So just writing these small time goals and working my way up that ladder and slowly keeping up on these guys and catching them.
Because that's the most, in my opinion, the most dangerous division is the lightweight division.
Yeah.
Some killers in there, like yourself.
I train with them every single day. There's 5 of the top 10 lightweights in my gym, an American top team, and they all know how good I am, and I know how good they are. So I'm in the right place, and I know where I'm supposed to be. So top 10, here we come.
Who would be the fighter that you would like to see stand across the octagon from you?
So there's mixed emotions about this one, because, you know, people say you should never meet your idols, but maybe fighting your idols would be something a bit different. But Donald Cerrone is a guy, maybe I wouldn't like to fight him, but is a guy I watched from day one. Like, I seen him on Spike TV when the UFC first started, and that guy was an inspiration to me. Like, I used to watch his highlights every week, and that would be fantastic. Just imagine being that wee guy watching him on the TV, and then eventually you're in the TV standing across the octagon from him. Like, the whole circle's changed, you know. Usually I was lying in my bed watching him on the telly, but now I'm actually in the cage with him. That would be a cool circle of life. Cowboy's a legend. I think he had so many records, but I think he had the most wins in UFC. Most high kicks, most wins, fucking you name it. I think Jim Miller's take over him from now, but mate, he's a good guy too. You could just feel he's a good guy, you know. Just one day I'll meet him, One day I'll meet him. I'm going to maybe message my manager and see if he can put me in contact with me.
Good stuff, mate. You never know. Maybe you
Aye.
could get a wee sparring session, then it could lead to something.
He can show me the ropes.
What's your opinion on Conor McGregor then?
He's just mad as fuck, isn't he?
Do you think you'll ever get that mindset to come back? I know money like that would change you, but
of course.
He's mad. He was an inspiration watching him, like I said earlier. The way he done that to the 145.
Yeah.
Totally dismantled the full division. What he done to Aldo.
Yeah.
And spoke it into existence. But I feel like when he got to lightweight and he fought Alvarez, he was right at his peak there.
Yeah.
He was like untouchable.
You can't be in your peak for too long. It's just, mate, he got to his peak, he got his millions, and he's just going to bounce now. He's just going to try and ride the wave, I think. Unfortunately, our sport is super cruel, so you're either getting beat or you're winning. It's a 50-50, you know. So, you know, it's hard to get out of your bed in the morning when you've got silk sheets, you know. So
and a big yacht.
And a Lamborghini and
Chefs
a Rolls Royce. And
yeah, you know.
It's
a different mindset. I think when you watch him now and you hear him speaking, he still has a great presence, good power.
Oh, aye.
But it's not the same. It's not the same Conor. You can see it.
You can even just tell he's changed just because he's living his riches, which he should. I'd love to see him come back, but I just think, you know, he's got so much on his plate now and he's got that much money. Like, is it feasible? So we'll see.
But I think if he was to come back, it would be like 170. I'm sure he likes fighting at that, doesn't he? It's like
once you get to that age as well, it's hard to cut the weight. It's difficult. And then like when you're, like I said, like when, mate, I'm a hungry fighter. Like I'm suffering for 12 weeks to win. He's no one to suffer now. He's got the yachts and the Rolls Royces, and he used to cut down to 45.
That's right. He looked really bad at that, didn't he? At the weight cut, some of them.
And I always use this analogy. So me coming from a fighting background, when you know you used to see the hounds chasing after the fox. They used to starve the hounds days before, so they would be more like invested in the hunt. So I feel that I'm like that hungry wolf or that hungry dog when it comes to fight time, because you know you've got that narky, aggressive, violent feeling in you, like you're hangry. So that, I think that's why he was so good at 145, and as he started to come out of that and realised that he's like, oh, I don't want to do that, that's too hard, because he's made that much money. That's probably what's kind of spoiled him a wee bit. That's why I go to 155 still.
Well, definitely. And even at 145, he was a big 145er.
Huge, massive. He's bigger than me.
It was the attributes he had. Yeah. It was the length, the reach. No wonder he was dismantling the opponents.
Aye, of course.
I think
he's a giant.
The one that came close is the Mendes fight, right enough.
Yeah.
So it was the first time he'd faced like a wrestler.
Yeah.
But again, impressive career. I'd like to see him come back for 1 or 2 fights.
Even just to watch him. He was a great guy. He's just like, it's always fun to watch him, innit? You just don't know what's going to happen.
It just brings love him or hate him, people will watch it.
Aye.
It's just like a money making machine, isn't it? It's crazy.
Money makes money, mate. Money makes money.
That's it, mate. But no, it's been an inspiration just sitting with you, Chris.
Aye.
But before we finish up in this episode, if there's a message that you could send out to the audience watching, now is the time.
A message. Mainly, I would say, if there's anybody looking to be an MMA fighter or a fighter of such, that there's no substitute for hard work. I am just a regular guy who came up drinking, doing stupid shit, meeting birds and like being 17, 16. Everybody goes through that stage. But when it comes a point for you to be a man and be an MMA fighter, if like myself, or be an adult, you really need to just knuckle down. And like I say, there is no substitute for just hard work. Like, I'm not clever. Like, I'm dyslexic, I can't count, I can't read, but I am obsessed with MMA. And the obsession of that, whether I can read, write or draw, doesn't matter. I'm just absolutely obsessed with it. And that's where the hard work comes in, and that will transfer over to any sort of business, goal, admiration, and anything. So if you can put in the work. Like, I don't know about yourself, but a lot of people in COVID, because there was nothing else to do, would put up a podcast. And the people who are now doing the podcast and still doing the podcast are the ones that are doing really well because they stuck at it. I remember I think it would have been 30 podcasts in COVID, and I don't think they're still doing it anymore. You need to keep going. You need to just keep hashing on. Win, lose or draw, you just need to keep hashing on, eh?
It's consistency, mate, and it's like any career. It's highs and lows, ups and downs, twists and turns.
Mate, you might get a weapon like me coming on and nobody wants to watch it.
No, this will go viral, by the way. I'll make sure of it because we're going to put together a great trailer as well.
Aye, okay.
And like I said, mate, brilliant message as well for the young ones watching.
For sure.
Showing them that anything's possible in this life.
Aye.
And to believe in themselves and follow their dreams, mate. So,
because you see all the top guys, they always say, you know, they're like, I'm just a guy from here. And it just shows you that whether you come from riches or you come from poor, you can do these sort of things, eh? It doesn't matter where you are in your life. Obviously, if you're in an absolute war zone, like it's a little bit different, you know. But like, if you're just an average guy, you know, it is possible if you put the work in, eh?
It's all mindset, isn't it?
Of course.
It's what you believe. But
definitely.
Like I said, mate, an absolute honour to have you in the studio.
Perfect, thank you.
I wish you well for the future, and I'll be watching your next fight.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And I'll be wishing you all the best, getting to that belt, mate, and being the first ever Scottish lightweight champion.
That's it. Paul Craig made it to the top 15, so I need to beat his number. And
number one, mate. I can see you with the belt.
That's it,
mate. Eventually, one day. But like I said, an honour, mate.
Thank you.
Shake my hand. Thanks very much, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you, right?
Thank you.